Welcome to the Standard of Truth podcast. In this podcast, Dr. Gerrit Dirkmaat and Dr. Richard Leduc explore the early history of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and the life and teachings of the prophet Joseph Smith. They examine the original historical sources and provide context for events of the past. They approach the history of the Church with faith, expertise, and humor.
Hi, welcome to a special bonus edition of the Standard of Truth podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Gerrit Dirkmaat. I'm joined by the now insufferable Dr. Richard Leduc. Once he got that doctor on his name, he has not been able to let up. I mean, we're going through the drive-thru at McDonald's, and they say, "Is that all of your order?" And Richard says, "Is that all of your order, doctor?"
Hello, Gerrit. It's nice to have me back. Thanks for having me back.
It is nice to have you back.
It is. You know what? It is really nice.
Yeah, I feel like you're finally back.
Well, Gerrit, obviously, we're here to do
to make an announcement.
Yeah.
And kind of maybe a tough announcement.
It is a tough announcement.
Maybe one that people won't want to hear.
I believe that the Super Bowl will be Buffalo versus Detroit. I think that's going to happen. Is that the announcement?
We just lost all of our listeners in every city that's not Buffalo and Detroit. You pick the two cities that we have the least number of listeners in.
Look, there is no kneecap that can survive Dan Campbell, and the Lions are going to make it happen. They're going to go for it on 4th and 38. They're going to fake a punt from their own 2. It's going to happen.
What about Andy Reid?
I love Andy Reid.
Don't you love him more now that he got a shout out in General Conference?
It was actually, that was great.
Our goal is to get Andy Reid on our podcast. We don't do interviews, but we want Andy Reid. So if someone could reach out to him and so we could interview him, that would be great.
Yeah, he does interviews. He's been on a lot of great podcasts, just not ours.
Well, yeah, he doesn't do interviews with us.
No, of course not.
We don't do interviews generally.
Not generally.
Unless it's with Renee about how to undermine the BYU administration.
Or JT or President Ruggiero or your brother. Actually, come to think of it, we do interviews all the time.
We do a lot of interviews. We just aren't interviewing anyone else. But we wanted to do this a little bit of a bonus to kind of give you some information about the upcoming year and how we're planning to release podcast episodes. Is that?
Yeah, I mean that's the idea. So here's the.
You were probably hoping that I was about to say this is the last Standard of Truth podcast. Thanks for the memories. You can keep the bruises.
Yeah, that's right. And you start playing closing time in your own mind.
Yeah. It's this sad walking away music from the Incredible Hulk when he's walking down the highway. You go, that's going on.
You know what? I should loop that in at the end of this. By the way, we do have a song that we should put at the end of this episode.
Okay,
at the end of this bonus.
So David, friend of the show, David.
Yes.
Is a wizard, first of all. I mean, he probably is a necromancer, and we just don't know it. He has been incredibly gracious in helping us with some of our problems, which are legion. And he also created, through the magical gift of AI, a country music theme song for our podcast. I have argued that we should drop our normal intro and this should be the only thing that we play. In fact, we shouldn't even have me talk anymore. We should just play this song on a loop.
Yeah, it actually, so him and Lisa do a lot of work on the Follow Him podcast, which is great. You should listen to that. That's actually
it's much better than ours.
It's a great podcast.
Yeah.
Anyway, they've been so kind to us, just incredibly nice. And that was one of the things that they did. And it sounds like a decent country song.
Oh, look, because it relates to our podcast, it's the greatest country song that's ever been written.
Since Stand By Your Man.
Yeah. There's nothing close. Maybe, Mama, Don't Let Your Babies Grow Up to Be Cowboys, and this.
Pretty much. It's very funny. We'll put it at the end of the episode. It's 3.5 minutes. It's a legit song.
Yeah.
And so we'll play that at the end of the bonus. But so here's the long and short of it, Gerrit. There are, my understanding, at least 58 sections of the Doctrine and Covenants.
At least. You're only off by 100.
Yeah, well
not quite 100. Yeah.
So I said at least.
Yeah.
So my understanding, there's a couple sections, and so in order to get them all in, squeeze them all into 1 year, it's going to be difficult to do that in just the Sunday drop of the premium content.
So on the premium side, if you aren't aware, we've been working on another podcast for this year to kind of help as people are studying the Doctrine and Covenants, called Search These Commandments. We've also had quite a few missionaries make the request that we cover the Doctrine and Covenants pretty heavily. But we don't want to go away from what we like to do as a podcast generally, and that is we want to be able to answer people's questions. And while I'm sure you'll have some questions about the Doctrine and Covenants, not every question someone has is about the Doctrine and Covenants. I mean,
right.
and so we don't want to get away from that. We want to, at times on our on the Standard of Truth podcast, address things that you'll be studying in the Doctrine and Covenants. But we don't want that to be the entire show. We want to still answer listeners' questions and well, I mean, as poorly as we did before. I mean, it's not like suddenly we're going to answer them better than we once did. Although that would be amazing, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what everyone listening is.
Yeah, we just have Hank and John on that.
Yeah, we could. And so that's the real plan, is to eventually import Hank and John to do our jobs. And yeah.
Well, so as an example, this week we're going to drop section 3, part 1 of the Doctrine and Covenants from Search These Commandments. So it'll be Search These Commandments. It'll be free on the Thursday drop, and it'll be part 1. And then the following week we'll do part 2 of section 3. And some of the sections like this there's a lot of context. The way you, how did you describe the issue as it relates to context with section 3?
The issue with section 3 is that's our first recorded revelation that's recorded at the time. Section 1 is received as a revelation to be the introduction to the Doctrine and Covenants. So that's received in November of 1831, after many other revelations are already received. Section 2 is an excerpt from Joseph Smith history where he explains what the angel Moroni said to him. And that's, of course, written down in 1838 or 39. And section 3 is the first revelation that is received and recorded at the time in this dispensation. And I realize that, you might consider the first vision to be a revelation, and the angel Moroni appearing is also a revelation. Yes, all of those things are miraculous experiences. But as far as a revelation that is recorded at the time and that then later becomes published in the Doctrine and Covenants, section 3 is our earliest section. And because of that, it's really just kind of, it's dropped in the middle of a story. I mean, a lot of us know some of the general parts of the story, but there's a lot of background to get to that revelation. And so that's what these two Search These Commandments episodes spent time on. And so Richard really thought, this is so important for the study of Doctrine and Covenants. We should probably release this one on both sides. The whole reason why we have a premium subscription is that's the way that we're able to keep the free one on the air, basically, because it pays for the platforming and the hosting. And frankly, we've had a lot of really kind people offer to say, hey, is there any way I can donate to your podcast to keep it going? And that's why we invented the premium content, was, I don't want to just have people donate and give them nothing for it. So let's give them, 17-part series on the creation of the Constitution. I mean,
as payment?
That's what they want. What do you want from me? I'm a historian. People are like, do you have any magic beans to trade? I mean, what do I have? Like, we'd love to give $50 to your podcast. Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you all about the Pickerings and their family and their importance to the Declaration of Independence. I mean, that probably isn't what people want, but that's what they're getting. But one of the premium podcasts we're doing this year especially as a response to the missionary requests who get the podcast free, is we're going through the sections of the Doctrine and Covenants to provide the background for them. We're not going through verse for verse, but and so Richard has really felt inspired that some of these are important enough that we really should make them available to everyone. And so that's what's going on. So we'll still, I know what you're thinking. You premium subscribers are like, first of all, calling this premium is an insult to premium. Second of all I get is these premium episodes. Are you saying now that even these freebies are going to? First of all, you're a little bitter about.
We understand.
This.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we're bitter too. We created the content and we literally still have to pay for it because there's no way for me to get it free from Apple, even though I'm creating.
I did actually look into it.
And there's no way.
From Apple, there is no way.
Well, that's how we do it.
There are some indirect things that I'm continuing to look into. I'm not looking too hard, but
I feel like you're looking at an illegal way for us to have it on our own phone.
If you could pirate it, you're going to need a VPN.
Okay.
You're going to need to be in Colombia.
At any rate, we'll still drop the free podcast, which will be similar in nature most of the time every Thursday. And we will occasionally intersperse that with some of these examples of the Search These Commandments podcast so that, some of these bigger ones, some of the ones that have greater content, everyone can have, will have immediate access to those and not just missionaries and the people who are subscribers.
And so to make that kind of the easiest way to know whether it's free or not is on the premium episodes, there's a different logo on there, right?
Right.
And so in these episodes, it'll have the Standard of Truth. It'll be the same kind of logo, I guess, and then the people will know, so they won't easily be confused at what's free.
Pretty much everyone listening right now is like, look, guys, I was barely listening to this to begin with.
Yeah, thanks for the complexity.
You think that I'm going to continue listening as you make this even more complex? Yes, that's exactly what we think, because that's what our model has always been. So we want to thank everyone for listening. We really do thank everyone who tries to keep us on the air by subscribing. And I know that not everyone can subscribe. We never intended to even have a subscription when we first started. We want to try to keep helping people and answering questions, and hopefully people feel the Spirit. Hopefully they feel a greater commitment to the gospel when they listen. And so we just thought we'd explain what's about to happen. But as Richard once explained to me, no one listens to the bonus episodes, so everyone will listen to the next episode and be like, what happened?
That's right.
Yeah. And I don't know if I can go with Lions Bills.
No. All right. Kansas City.
I until they are dethroned, I'm going to have to say Kansas City.
I don't think they've scored more than 30 points all season. They're by the doink of the football across the crossbar.
They've got like people that they found in a Safeway parking lot kicking field goals part of the season. Their receivers are basically people that I beat out for wide receiver in high school, and I played tight end. I mean, they have nothing left, but it's hard to.
All right, so from the NFC, who do you got then?
This is a tough one.
Yeah,
this is a tough one. NFC. I think I still have to go with the Lions, although part of me thinks that we're going to have either a Rams-Bucks surprise.
The Bucks are a scrappy team.
So are the Rams.
Yeah, the Rams.
Puka Nacua.
Yeah,
he's coming for you.
Of course. Yeah, a big Puka Nacua fan.
Yeah, we've always been Puka Nacua fans here at the Standard of Truth podcast. Remember, gambling is wrong. Listen to President Hinckley. So don't bet on the games. Just watch them and have your hopes and dreams crushed. And we leave you with the selection from AI singing about our podcast.
Oh, gather round, let's take a ride through history's lens with faith as our guide. Dr. Gerrit, Dirk, Matt, leading the way through the past with wisdom every day. He's a scholar with a heart of gold, with stories of Joseph Smith to be told. From the early days, so rich and deep, in the church's history we take a lead. History's alive with faith and light. With Dr. Dirk Matt we're taking flight, exploring truths that we can hold in every story, new and old. With Richard LeDuc, insight so clear, bringing knowledge we hold dear. Together they make the past come bright. In this podcast we find our light. From the Joseph Smith papers, the truth we see, the life of a prophet wild and free. Dr. Dirk Matt's expertise so vast, bringing history to life at last. And Richard, with business and a sharp mind, bringing insights of a different kind. He's shaping the future while learning from the past, a perfect balance, a team built to last. History's alive with faith and light. With Dr. Dirk Matt we're taking flight, exploring truths that we can hold in every story, new and old. With Richard LeDuc, insight so clear, bringing knowledge we hold dear. Together they make the past come bright. In this podcast we find our light. Through laughter and joy we learn and grow. With faith in the past, our hearts all aglow. Together we journey, together we see the power of history and eternity. History's alive with faith and light. With Dr. Dirk Matt we're taking flight, exploring truths that we can hold in every story, new and old. With Richard LeDuc, insight so clear, bringing knowledge we hold dear. Together they make the past come bright. In this podcast we find our light. So tune in, my friends, to this wonderful show. With Dr. Dirk Matt and Richard we'll grow in wisdom, in faith, and laughter too. Their insights and love, they're here for you.